contrast between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Remember Tim Walz? We almost forgot about him. J.D. Vance pulled up on Fox News, and he spoke about working with Trump. I didn't get a chance to really look at it. I only looked at 5 seconds. I said, oh, I got to play this one on the Millionaire Morning Show. J.D. Vance has been in the news recently. In 10 days, he's made more appearances than Kamala Harris had the entire time that she was in office outside of her campaigning for president of the United States of America. Let's get into it.
Mr. Vice President, great to see you.
Good morning. Thank you for
First of all, congratulations. All right, has it sunk in yet? Hillbilly elegy.
Yep.
Now the Vice President of the United States of America.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. No, it hasn't sunk in. And, you know, I joke that I took
Hillbilly Elegy is, I believe, the name of his book that he had wrote. Okay, guys? So stay with me. Come on. Let's go.
2 wrong turns, and I ended up, you know, a hallway down from the Oval Office. And it's just an incredible thing. You know, the first time I'd ever actually been to the Oval Office was with President Trump as his vice president last Tuesday.
Never been there.
Had never been to the Oval Office.
Wow.
And, you know, he always talks about, you know, you have these executives, foreign heads of state. The Oval Office just has a particular power, and I certainly felt it. And it was just amazing to stand in that room. And I remember at the time thinking, I wish that I had something profound to say. And I just stood in there saying, wow, this is crazy. Right?
No, I had the same experience when I went in. President Bush was in office at the time. And I remember, I thought it was surreal. I was like, is that really him?
Yeah.
And it is a special place. And then, of course, Trump has his little red button, which is next to him, which is not the red button.
Well, which he screwed with me about that, actually.
Did he really?
Yeah, no, so we're just mid-conversation. I think we were with Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson, and he has this sort of beautiful, ornate wooden box on his desk with a red button, and he presses it.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looks over at me, and I'm like, sir, is that did something bad just happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I just ordered a Diet Coke.
That's what it is. It's the Diet Coke red button, and it comes running in. Then he'll ask
I'm about to do that. What's the cost? What's the construction cost for me to get a red button in my studio and at home to get my chick to go and get me what my drink is, whatever my favorite drink is? Yeah, that's what we do. If you can't put a red button on your chick, then she not your chick. That's the new standard. J.D. Vance just taught me that. I know he didn't mean to do it. It was indirect. But I am about to put a red button for my chick, and it is going to mean something. It's going to mean something. Hey, make me some hamburger helper. Hey, come rub my... It's got to mean something. If Trump could have a red button, we can have a red button too. Shout out to J.D. Vance for giving me that insight. That's pretty dope. To order a Diet Coke or order a Coke, I'm going to hit the red button.
Would you like one?
Yeah, exactly.
I've known President Trump for over 30 years.
Sure.
I've had a close relationship with him in all those years.
You know it, Molly.
And he and I, when he was thinking about running, we had arguments for hours deep into the night about, I said, I'm not voting for you if you're not a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, it's your phone, clown. That's one of my Room 9 students. We like to make sure that we acknowledge them occasionally. For those of you that may not be familiar, I'm not the texter. I've had entire fallouts with people on the internet over the fact that I'm not the texter. I mean, I'll text. I'll see you. And then when I see you, you know what I'm saying? I just see you. I just see you. I see you. And sometimes it doesn't warrant a reply. I'm not trying to reply to you every single time you text me. That's a lot of work. You know, I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm not the texter, big dog. You keep texting all of these women over and over again. You keep texting her, replying to her, having whole conversations, arguing with her in the text. I'm so mad at you. Why you ain't? I'm not going to do none of that. I ain't going to do none of that. I don't even argue. Everybody, listen. When I see you, y'all know what I do? Let me derail myself a little bit. We're going to get back to J.D. Vance. Do you know what my method my method is, the first thing that I do, especially if I ain't seen you in 2 days, it's inspection time, baby. Yep, it's inspection time. Stand up, lift up the shirt, drop the pants. Inspection time, baby. Do a spin. Let me go ahead. I'm just like Sam Rothstein. You know, when he was inspecting the dancers on Casino, when he was trying to figure out whether or not they meet the requirement to continue to perform on stage, it's inspection time. I need to see everything. I want to know if it's any additional bruises. I want to see exactly what the curvature is. I want to make sure that it's that everything is tight the way it needs to be. And I make you spin. Spin around. It's inspection time. You'd be surprised how, listen, I'm not going to keep on giving y'all the game. I'm not, Carmen, honest to God, on my life is inspection time. You'd be surprised how excited a woman is when it's inspection time. Inspection time. They come over there. They running over there. Inspection time. Come here. And don't be stealing my methods, because you're going to try to do it and you're going to get slapped in your face. Inspection time? What, you want to see my rolls? Oh, baby. It's inspection time. I got to make sure that you ain't been tampered with and you doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. All right, it's inspection time. Let's get back to the show. JD Vance, ladies and gentlemen.
You really are now getting to know him very well.
Sure.
What have you learned about him?
Well, it's interesting. One, I've learned that he has the most interesting decision-making process of any person I've ever met. And I think it's what makes him such an effective leader, is that when he actually is thinking about doing something, he doesn't just ask, like, you know, his closest advisor or some policy person. He you know, if it's going to affect a business, he'll call the business's CEOs. He'll go and try to talk to the workers. He tries to take inputs from everywhere. And I think it's one of the reasons why he's so in tune with where the American people actually are. But it's also, I think, one of the geniuses of the way that he makes decisions is that he actually tries to talk to everybody. And that's something, honestly, I could write a book just about the way that he gathers information from all sources. Wow. And it's very unusual. I mean, in Washington, most politicians...
I'm familiar with it. We'll get back to it. Y'all want to go? Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Jesus.
If it's a national security issue, they'll talk to their national security person and maybe, you know, somebody else in their office. If it's a business issue, maybe they'll talk to a CEO. The president talks to everybody, and that's a very, very profound thing about the way that he actually operates in Washington.
I would describe him as a force of nature, and there's nobody else like him.
Yes.
And I think in many ways he's misunderstood as well, because I know the personal side of him and I know the business side of him.
All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and see if we can get this live feed and this live footage popping off. I hear Trump is live talking about everything with the plane collision. We're going to spin over to that temporarily, and then we're going to come back to this whole situation and see what's happening, all right? See what we can find out here in these streets of what's going on with this whole plane crash situation. All right, let's see what we got.
Problems and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened, because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target. And you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. The FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his...
What happened to the audio? Am I missing something? What's going on with the audio?
And he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So I had to say that it's terrible. Then it's a group within the FAA, another story, determined that the workforce was too white, that they had concerted efforts to get the administration to change that and to change it immediately. This was in the Obama administration just prior to my getting there. And we took care of African Americans, Hispanic Americans. We took care of everybody at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's one of the reasons I won. But they actually came out with a directive, too white. And we want the people that are competent. But now
Too
we
white?
mourn and we pray.
Did he say too white?
Would like to ask all Americans to join me in a moment of silence as we ask God to watch over those who have lost their lives and bring comfort to the loved ones. And I just want to say God bless everyone in this room. This has been a terrible, very short period of time. We'll get to the bottom of it. So we all saw the same thing. We've seen it many times. I've had the honor of hearing tapes. Tapes are scary, very scary tapes. You had a airliner coming in, American Airlines. He was doing everything right. He was on track. He was the same track as everybody else. They came in. It's probably the same track as they've had for 25 years or more. He's coming in the path. And for some reason, he had a helicopter that was at the same height, obviously when they hit, but pretty much the same height, and going at an angle that was unbelievably bad. When the air traffic controller said, do you see, he was talking about, do you see him? But there was very little time left when that was stated. And then also, he said, follow him in. And then almost immediately after that, seconds after that, there was the crash that took place. Well, you follow him in, that means like everything's fine, follow him in. You had a pilot problem from the standpoint of the helicopter, because it was visual. It was a very clear night. It was cold, but clear, and clear as you could be. The American Airlines plane had lights blazing. They had all of their landing lights on. I could see it from the Kennedy Center tape. We had a tape up on the Kennedy Center. That seems to be the primary. Thus far, I'm sure we'll see other tapes because it's such an area where there are a lot of cameras looking up into the air, into space. So we'll probably see many other shots of it before too much time goes by. But we had a situation where you had a helicopter that had the ability to stop. I have helicopters. You can stop a helicopter.
Talk your talk, Trump. He said, I got a helicopter. It had the ability to go
up or down. It had the ability to turn. And the turn it made was not the correct turn, obviously. It did somewhat the opposite of what it was told. We don't know that would have been the difference because the timing was so tight. It was so little. There was so little time to think. But what you did have is you had vision. The helicopter had vision of the plane because you had vision of it all the way, perfect vision of it all the way from at Kennedy Center where the tape was taken. And for some reason, there weren't adjustments made. Again, you could have slowed down the helicopter substantially. You could have stopped the helicopter. You could have gone up. You could have gone down. You could have gone straight up, straight down. You could have turned. You could have done a million different maneuvers. For some reason, it just kept going and then made a slight turn at the very end, and by that time it was too late. They shouldn't have been at the same height, because if it was at the same height, you could have gone under it or over it, and nobody realized, or they didn't say that it's at the same height. At the same height, it still wouldn't have been great, but you would have missed it by quite a bit. Could have been 1,000 feet higher. It could have been 200 feet lower. But it was exactly at the same height, and somebody should have been able to point that out. So all of this is going to be studied, but it just seems to me...
I like the fact that he's very, very transparent about what he's
talking about. I like to use the words common sense. Some really bad things happened, and some things happened that shouldn't have happened. So you had a helicopter going in an identical direction. You had a helicopter that was at the exact same height as somebody going in essentially the opposite direction. You had a plane that was following a track, which is a track that every other plane followed. And I don't imagine, I know I've heard today that they might have been following the preceding plane, which was pretty close, but not that close, the preceding plane. But you wouldn't have even been able to see that because of the direction that the helicopter was coming in at. So you had a confluence of bad decisions that were made, and you have people that lost their lives, violently lost their lives. We're going to take a few questions. I'd like to ask our new Secretary of Transportation to say a few words. Sean Duffy, great gentleman, just started. It's not your fault, and I know you agree with me very strongly on intellect and even psychological well-being of the air traffic control. It's such an important position, and I think I can't emphasize stronger. I changed it when I first ran in 2016. I changed it. We had the highest standard that you could have, and then they changed it back. That was Biden, to a standard I read it to you. That was from...
Hey, Trump ain't missing no opportunity to throw Biden under the bus.
In this room actually wrote that. And then I changed it back a few days ago. And unfortunately, that was, we'll see. We don't know that necessarily it's even the controller's fault. But one thing we do know, there was a lot of vision, and people should have been able to see that, you know, at what point do you stop? At what point do you say, wow, that plane's getting a little bit close? So this is a tragedy that should not have happened. Please, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would just note.
All right, so cool. So we got an update on what was going on from President Trump as far as what his remarks on. I'm assuming that they're still gathering information so that they can better understand exactly what happened. But it sounds like some ego, maybe miscommunication, misdirection. People did what they wanted to do. I don't know if you can just completely blame it on air traffic control. But again, like I said, I'll stay on top of it. I'll keep you guys up to date on what's going on out in these streets. And I think it's time for us to get back to JD Vance. You know what I'm saying? So JD Vance, one-on-one. Let's get back to it.
And as we've seen, hundreds and hundreds of executive actions. Yes. And you've been here barely a little over a week now.
Yeah.
Pretty speed of light. It's speed of light.
You know, we've I think accomplished honestly more in 8 days than the entire Biden administration accomplished in 4 years. And of course, the things that we're accomplishing are actually good things, and the things they were accomplishing were mostly bad things. But the president has incredible energy. I mean, this is something you hear other people say about him, and it's hard to really appreciate it until you're up close and personal. I don't know how much he sleeps or if he ever really sleeps. I mean, you'll get phone calls from him.
I can answer that. Okay. He doesn't sleep a lot.
You'll get phone calls at 1 in the morning, and he'll just, he'll talk about policy, and he'll talk about your family, and he just, there's something incredibly energetic about him, but you sort of need that, actually. The federal government has become so sprawling, And the bureaucracy is so unresponsive to what the president actually wants to do that you kind of need somebody in there who's constantly on. It's all gas, no brakes. That's certainly what we've seen in the last, 8 days. I think it's what we'll see for the next 4 years.
When you look at,
Is that a characteristic of great leaders in a general sense, in that you don't know when they sleep? I mean, of course, we all have to sleep and we all sleep, and I'm not saying that I'm one of the great leaders, I'm just saying in general. And this could be applied to business people. This can be applied to people that are obsessed with what success looks like. It can maybe be applied to athletes. It can be applied to anybody that wind up reaching a certain level of success in their respective fields, right? What I'm wondering is that a thing to where we have irregular sleep patterns, or you don't sleep as much, or you never know when they sleep, or it always seems like they're on and that they're never really off, and they always got one eye on what's going on, or a pulse on what's going on in the streets? Because I will tell you, this last administration, I remember Biden saying that he got to be to bed before 8 o'clock. Sleepy Joe, that's why they start calling him Sleepy Joe. Because he said that he had to be to bed before a certain time, even though the world continues to operate while he's sleeping. Oh, man. That's so
for
funny.
example, of the two biggest issues in this campaign, immigration and the economy.
Sure.
And because that's impacting the people in Ohio.
Of course.
Right?
Yep.
That's impacting their life hard. And
That's
a lot of
absolutely
Americans have been really hurt. There was a study that came out, like 56% of Americans can't withstand a $1,000 emergency.
Sure.
It would be devastating for them. That scares me. I've been there. I've lived there. I know you've been there.
Of course. Yeah.
Not fun. Not
Yeah.
where you want to be.
Not fun at all.
And when I think of, the issue of immigration in particular, I'm looking at, we have known terrorists in this country.
Yes,
we
we
have
do.
known cartel members, known gang members. We have known murderers, rapists. And I'm watching the reaction of the left and the left-wing media and the Democrats. And, we're back to Nazi fascists, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini. And I'm like, what part of these other people are you missing?
No, it's totally crazy, Sean. And if you look, there was the guy who went viral a few days ago that we deported, 17 violent criminal convictions, and was actually saying,
The guy from Haiti.
The guy from Haiti. Yeah. He was saying, I hate Trump, I love Biden because Biden wanted me to stay in this country. Is there a better endorsement of Donald J. Trump that a violent criminal who shouldn't be in this country doesn't like him because Donald Trump is actually enforcing the immigration laws of this country? And it's everywhere, Sean. It affects everybody from all walks of life. It's the drug epidemic. It's the crime. It's the fact that if you live along the southern border, you're affected by this cartel activity. I mean, we've seen, Sean, just in the last couple of days, multiple cartel members have fired at our own border patrol. And you ask yourself, why wasn't that happening a couple of years ago? Because they weren't empowered to do their job. The border has become so lawless that we're actually engaging in military-style engagements just to regain control of our southern border. And thank God we're actually doing it this time, because if we had another 4 years of Biden and the Democrats' wide open southern border, it would permanently, I think, irreparably transform this country. So yeah, we're doing immigration.
If we had another 4 years, of what we experienced the past 4 years, I'm pretty sure that this country would be gay, all the way gay. And I'm not talking about the gay, happy gay. I'm talking about the gay, like the gay. This country would go to hell, honestly. I think that this country will be burned to the ground by 2028 if we had another 4 years. Honest to God, I think that this country will absolutely burn down to the ground. 100%. Absolutely.